Worked out so far. Didn't think I'd miss this place. Had that much right.
Village was a touch livelier when I saw it last. Ain't saying much, though.
What do you remember about Stalwart?
Bitter cold and a persistent odor of fish. Now that were just the people.
Why did you want to come back anyway?
Anything's better than Galvino's workshop. You ain't heard the old buzzard sing. Anyway, what about you? We seen lots coming through, trying to crack the battery, but no watchers.
Stalwart needed my help.
The do-gooder of the Deerwood. You're a rare breed these days. But don't let me keep you from the sights and sounds of Stalwart. They're easy to miss.
She rests her hands on her hips and turns to look around. I want to ask you something else. Gambino said you murdered several people before he transferred you.
Effigy's eyes, that man loved to talk.
Tell me, why did you kill those people?
Won't make the deed seem any kinder.
I've heard parts of your story from others. I'd rather hear the rest from you.
Mayhap you've heard of Coldmorn. Was a quiet, forgettable patch of the woods. Till a pack of rabid clodhoppers set it afire.
That was the start of the purges. Dear Woodens killing their own.
What exactly happened to Coldmorn? Sudden burst of heat flares from her seams as her essence surges and boils.
A farmer on the other side of the mountains woke up one day with his head all aflame and took it for the gibbering speech of his god. And so did a few thousand of his countrymen. So when he tired of Vorlus fields and marched west, a horde of armed Hicks followed.
You're talking about Wyden and the Saints' War?
Bunch of fool nonsense is what I'm talking about. But others have called it the same. If you know that much, then you've heard of Coldmorn. Ours was the village that let a few thousand of Widewind's troops pass through.
You were from Coldmorn? When I heard what happened out there after the war, I couldn't believe my ears.
Fine line between couldn't and wouldn't.
You betrayed your countrymen.
The same countrymen willing to let us stand alone against an army? We got news of the raid Sarens coming through the mountains. Begged the Duke for help, we did. Didn't send us so much as a bare-ass novitiate. They went to towns with full coffers and lofty connections. So we let Widewind soldiers pass. Left him for the Duke to wrangle on his own terms.
So Coldmorn was purged in
It
retaliation.
was after the Godhammer made a fine grid out of Widewind, when Deerwoodens were running on rage and looking for something to burn. They came at dark, hundreds of folk. Every one of them mourning someone lost in the war. Must have decided it was our duty to escort their dead back to the wheel. They didn't light their torches till they had us surrounded. Time we saw them, there was a ring of fire closing around us. I woke, ran to the window. Whole village were a maze of flames. Couldn't see nothing for the smoke. And the screams. Most ran for the streets, got caught by the mob. Others hid, let their houses burn down around them.
Someone should have made those thugs pay.
That was my thinking, too.
What does that have to do with your crimes?
You said yourself that someone needed to bring the hammer down on the scum that raised Coldmorn.
But you only killed people who attacked Coldmorn, right?
Sure. You want me to tell you straight? I found the men and women what destroyed my village, and I burned their houses down around them. Sometimes they was alone, and sometimes they wasn't.
Couldn't hope to get all, You couldn't have hoped to get them all.
Well, we just gotta do our best with what time the gods give us, don't we?
What exactly did you hope to accomplish?
It were a mob that destroyed our village, but it was just one man that burned my family's house. Kept hoping I'd get to him as I was working my way through the rest of those maggots. No matter now, I suppose.
You and Galvino had an unusual relationship. No, so why did you want to come with me?
Stalwart's great this time of year. Beareth spells in bloom for a good 5 days, and the mountain squall actually blows the fish stench away from town.
She turns away, clacking the fingers of one hand against her palm.
Better than staying at Galvino's, anyway.
Aloth arches an eyebrow and leans close. I lived with secrets long enough to know when someone's hiding something. Black marbles of her eyes scrape against the sockets as she looks at you. I get the feeling you're not welcome in Stalwart.
I got a reputation. People in these little villages ain't the most open-minded.
Did you murder someone here?
Not yet.
Oh. About Durgan's battery.
Just 'cause I'm made of metal don't mean I got any special fondness for smiths and forges.
You know anything about it?
No more'n what Galvino already told you.
Any thoughts on which villagers I should check?
For fancy dwarven poetry? None of them ever struck me as especially literate. So whichever you can stand to get close to. And that's on you. I lost my sense of smell 13 years ago.
Do you remember any of the other expeditions that came to Galvino?
Nothing specific. Everyone looks about the same when they got their fingers up their noses. Only the last group, one before you, there was something different about them. Couldn't put my finger on it, but they was dangerous. Almost felt the hair on the back of my neck. Ain't felt that way about anyone else walking through Galvino's door, that's for sure. Murder, tracking, and the best materials for kindling. Those are more my area of expertise.
What was your life like before the war?
There weren't much to say about it. By my reckoning, that means it was pretty good. Ma was a trapper, taught me to set snares and dress game. Dad was a tinker. I never had his patience, but it were fun to watch him work. My brothers and sister, they was good folk too. Part of me's glad they ain't here to see me now.
You and Galvino had an unusual relationship.
Only kind to have with someone like him. Or me.
What exactly did you do for him? She regards you for several moments, then she shrugs.
Looked after his tools, cleaned the workshop, swung the sledgehammer. Oh, and snatched up travelers for his soul tinkering.
Those other golems, you mean?
But don't you worry. They were all bad folk.
Fine by me.
Just so you know, you got a real professional working for you.
How long have you two known each other?
Around about 13 years. Too long, you ask me.
He claimed he made you.
He'd spread butter on bread and claim he made something. Never been accused of modesty, that man. He managed to stuff my soul into this heap of bronze, true enough. Maybe that makes him a genius. Also makes him a son of a bitch.
Did you ever consider murdering him?
Every day. Just kept putting it off. It's not like either of us was going anywhere.
You resent him?
No other way to feel about the man who flayed my living soul.
Let's talk about something else.
Yeah, I've had enough of him too.
I'm tempted to go ahead. Wait. I'm tempted to go ahead and reload just so I can get my intelligence up, or my perception, or both if I can. Speckleback jerky. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get my intelligence up that high. Because what is that? It's only out of 12. Because I think I needed like a 15. But you know what? I think we'll leave it as is. Let's yeah, let's work like that for a little while. Okay, what is the time currently? Hour 1. Oh, and I think we're okay. Well, that's a bit unfortunate. You reach into the barrel and find a bracelet. A thick aura of essence cling to it, fresh with memory. You feel yourself drawn into it. You like that rogue? She's hardcore? Yes, I'm already really liking her. If anything, there's a good chance that we might end up taking out either Eder or Sagani. So I hate to say take out Sagani. No, I don't want to take out Sagani. No. It might end up being Eder. But Eder is getting so good now. The memory you stride into this fishery, the floors are swept clean, but the wood is still splotched with snow melt and fish guts. A man hunkers in the corner, his head nodding forward as if in sleep. He looks up drowsily as you approach. It's Grinde. His face is youthful but sallow, and his hair hangs in stringy locks. You feel a pang of anger and pity at your brother's debauchery.
Arda.
It's past midnight.
Your throat feels tight. Grinda wipes at his nose, then examines the mingled blood and powder on the back of his hand. He shrugs. Your fingers clench around coarse, thick fabric, your father's best wool cloak, tucked under your arm.
Go! To raid Ceres, or Defiance Bay, or fucking Air Glonfoth. I don't care!
He picks up the cloak and looks at it with the same sort of dull wonder. He wipes his nose in the lining. A sudden rush of fury leaves your limbs weak and raw.
I'll tell them. Mayor Sina healed. The neighbors, everyone.
About what?
The stealing. You think I haven't noticed the money missing from the fishery coffers? Or heard Tana talk about losing a golden duke? You can't be found when there's work to do, but every time those merchant wagons roll into town, you've got coin enough for a few bags of ripple sponge.
No, it's not.
Stalwart tolerates your sponge habit, but they won't abide your thieving.
You won't.
Oh no, he rises steadier on his feet than you would have thought.
I will.
You stride toward him. I wouldn't have shamed mother and father while they was living, but I won't let this keep up. Your anger swallows the last of your pity. Anger at him for putting you in this position, for doubting your resolve, for failing to see. You're close enough to smell his stale, sour breath when he pushes you. You fall, watching his widening eyes and the ceiling spinning into your vision. Isn't this just like him? Grind with his fool tantrums, never thinking of anybody but himself. Now you're going to be nursing a headache for a week. Just goes to show you can't help someone but some people. You remember him too, your baby brother running through the snow, slipping, falling on ice, and you're slipping, falling, and there's a table behind you, but it should... The memory ends abruptly, and jolting you back into the present, with your heart hammering and your palms sweating. Knees are weak. Mom's spaghetti. The fishery doors creaks open, and in walks Grindes, staring at you, and the bracelet in surprise and outrage. His face drains of color.
You take shelter in our village and then ransack it like a common thief? You'd better explain yourself.
Don't worry, Grinde, he's all right. Lurger gives you a nod, but he looks uncertain himself. You're the one who needs to explain. No, you're the one with explaining to do.
What's that supposed to mean?
You killed your sister, Arda, right here in this room. He opens his mouth to reply, but the words catch in his throat. The guard next to him stares at the bracelet, recognition turning into horror.
Worth coming back for this alone.
It was an accident. I was a failure and a wretch then. But I never would have killed anyone. Least of all my own kin.
How can you expect me to believe something like that?
I gave her body to the lake. But I kept her bracelet. To remember the cost of my own weakness.
He loosens his hands and stares at the emptiness in his leathery palms. He looks from Grinde back to you. No. Or Golder. He looks from Grinde back to you, wringing the handle of his weapon.
I ain't asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve any. My penance is my work on behalf of the village. And they need it, truly.
Yep, heard that one before.
You've seen the shape this place is in. Have mercy on Stalwart, if not on me. Let me do the work Arda would have done. That's my debt to Stalwart, and the only fitting way to honor my sister.
That's not for you to decide. You owe it to Arda and to Stalwart to tell the truth about her death.
Kept thinking I could get by this way, but I guess you're right. It's time they knew the truth about me.
He turns to leave, looking back at the fishery one last time. Got it. I want to say this is definitely one of the first RPG games I've ever played where where you don't have where combat isn't essential. It is nowhere near essential. You just talk your way through everything. Well, you can do that in Pathfinder Kingmaker, but most of your XP actually comes from combat. Here in this game, it's just, hey, just complete your quest however you want, and there's your XP. Okay. Return to Galvino. I've dealt with Green Day. Galvino will want to know how things turned out. Gotcha. Okay, Ricard. We'll do that here in a second. Yeah, Pathfinder, you choose between role play or being an XP gremlin.
Something I can do for you? Halfrick's got me straightening the rooms, but I'll help you if I can.
Reader's Soul. You feel for Owina's essence and almost instantly find yourself wrapped in darkness. It takes you a moment to realize that you've plunged into a very old memory. But as your eyes adjust to the torchlight, you find yourself standing in a gloomy tunnel that you instinctively recognize as part of Durgan's battery. I freaking knew it! But as you're... Okay. A handful of figures in patchy cloaks and hoods, dwarves like you, hunch over a minecart. They're loading it with cloth-wrapped bundles from which you see the occasional flash of metal, the edge of a blade or the burnished glow of plate. The other dwarves scurry with a curious mixture of haste and caution. They stack the bundles in a din, muted clangs and thumbs, following the echoes of their ruckus down the tunnel with nervous eyes. Pay attention, sooner we
get this done, sooner we can go.
Your voice is dry and whisper. Your voice is a dry whisper. Your nerves tingle with energy. You feel the same apprehension that the others do, but unlike them, you relish it. Still, you look over your shoulder just in case.
We're hurrying, Captain Gregor. Honest.
When you turn back, the others have redoubled their efforts and you feel a pleasurable twist in your gut as they fill the cart. Being captain of the guard doesn't pay much, but it does allow you to visit the armory without raising eyebrows. And with Coinmaster Zoltan selling off half of the battery's arsenal, who's going to notice a few more missing pieces? Besides, you've got a buyer lined up, as long as you can move these goods out of the battery before someone squeals. As you surface from the memory, you realize that an awakening will be permanent for Owina. There may be others in town who you could awaken instead. You look up to find Owina staring at you.
Sir? Excuse me, sir. You all right?
I am not going to awaken
You
her.
got the look of someone with his teeth around a secret.
That's enough.
Paladin places a feathered hand on the devil's shoulder, like a mother attempting to pull away an overly intrusive child. Now it sounds weird when she says put a hand on the devil's shoulder. Wait, the devil is actually working with us. No, farewell. Are you a dwarf?
Got rid of that little fella, eh? Take this with my thanks. Didn't need his trouble around here.
More or less, easier than Satan? I suppose.
Anyway, what brings you back?
Read a soul. You see a room dark and damp, a cellar. It looks like part of an inn rather than an old fortress. Through Hefrick's eyes, you admire rows of gleaming bottles recently dusted and polished. You step back from the shelves. You look on with satisfaction at a pressure plate concealed in the stone floor.
You all right? I won't serve you if you're already drunk, you know.
Farewell.
Be cautious. Be constant.
By the way, what was her mechanics? Her mechanics is 12. Yes, please. +2 from being a rogue, and a +1 from Trapper with a 8 stealth.
Thanks again. I'll be gone just as soon as the weather clears.
All right. I suppose there's one more dwarf or there's like a couple more dwarfs, I'm pretty sure. You just gotta find them properly. Yeah, definitely not them. Actually, let's do something like this. Yeah, let's do something like that. Ah,
Father wants me to stay inside for a time.
Welcome.
read a soul. This soul is vibrant, is a vibrant, solid thing, and as you reach out for it with your senses, you see your breath begin to fog in the air. You find yourself seated at the east of a hill overlooking the mountain pass below. The sky is bright and clear, and your furs are proof against the mountain chill. Appa, a child barely old enough to walk, burbles happily as he wobbles toward you. He points down at the elk herd picking his way across the river, and you smile proudly. Okay, nope, not him. Nor his son. So that's them out of the question. One second, chat. There we go. That should do it. Are you a dwarf or are you Oh. Broke devil wants to talk. Oh, she does. Thank you. I should probably put on some perception and intelligence stuff. Yeah, you have perception there. Intelligence. You probably have some intelligence stuff. Right here. And then I think it was this. +1 intelligence, +1 crap.
Right here. Didn't think there was anything more than lice and hoarfrost to these folk, but you had a look back there. What do you find when you're rooting around like that?
First, tell me the real reason you wanted to follow me to Stalwart.
Mayhap I'm looking for someone. Woodcutter by the name of Harmka.
This doesn't have anything to do with Coldmorn, does it?
It sure does. He was one of them. The mob that destroyed Coldmorn. I tracked him to Stalwart years ago, but got caught before I could finish my business.
You want me to help you murder someone?
Oh, don't go all soft on me. He's had it coming. This man, Harmka, I saw him outside my house the night it burned, staring into the flames the way I seen you stare into souls. I knew it were a fool's errand trying to hunt down every man and woman that carried a torch into Coldmorn. But if I knew I got the one responsible for my kin and my hearth, I might could rest easy.
How can you be so sure about this Harmka fellow?
I took a good long look that night. Ours was a little place with a yellow door right on the edge of town. He was there. Besides, I asked around when I first got to Stalwart. Townsfolk said that all the woodcutters in town took part in the purge. Point of pride for them.
What does this have to do with me?
I told you he was part of the mob. I spotted him watching my house when it burned. But when we find him, I want to know if he's the one responsible for my home, my parents, and my brothers and sister. I never thought I'd have the chance to know for sure. But you could look into his soul and find out. You being a watcher and all.
Finding out might be getting your hopes up. How would you feel about a solid hunch instead? I'll do what I can.
Mighty fine of you. Mighty fine indeed. Don't know where he dallies these days, but someone in Stalwart could tell us. People from little villages, they always know.
Okay. We need to go rest here soon. Wait, speaking of resting, actually, this might be better for us. Because I'm starting to not really like my my keeps passives that it grants me. Because it's only one most of the time.
Back to warm your hands, eh? What top quality
Okay, Dex, Might, Con. Dex, Might. Oh, well. That's not particularly the one I want. We need a rest anyway, so boom.